Okay, my neighbor started plowing. Hopefully you'll be able to hear me over the tractor. We'll see. It's not too loud in this room. Okay, I've got about, I don't know, maybe maybe a 13-inch piece of fabric here, maybe 13 and a half. I'm going to use a 10-inch waistline for my doll. So I'm just going to fold my waistline in half, and I'm going to, for the video, I'm just going to use chalk to make my marks, but you can just pin it in half if you want to, but I'm just going to use chalk for the video. Okay, so there's the middle of my waistband. So now you've got to decide how you want your waistband to come together. Do you want your edges to come together flush, or do you want them as an overlap? So that's one thing you need to decide at this point. If you want your edges to be flush like that, you're going to want to make this exactly the same size as your doll's waist. So let's just say I want those completely flush. So I'm going to make my waistband 10 inches. So when I go to measure my waistband, I'm going to go exactly 10 inches. So here's 5 inches in the middle. I'm going to add 10 inches here, and I'm going to add 10 inches here. So that's going to give me a flush closure on my, if my doll's waist is 10 inches, that's going to give me a flush closure on those two pieces when I go to put those together. So it's up to you how you want to do that. So now I have this much left extra on each side, and I'm going to cut this off when I get to it. I'm just going to leave it the way it is for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a line of sewing on the top, because that's what's going to be my turn under when I go to flip this under on the waist. So let's just go ahead and go to your regular 1/4 of an inch seam, and I'll just put it in a big stitch here, and we're just going to go down the top. You can also iron this too if you want to, instead of doing the stitching. It's up to you. I just use the stitching, but you can just iron it down too if you want to. Either way works. Okay, so there's that. Alright, so our waistband is ready. This is going to be our turn under when we go to sew that on. Okay, so now we've got our waistband ready to get sewn onto the body of the slip. So we've got to put some gathering stitches in our slip. So let's go ahead and go to our gathering stitch. And I'm going to put this to the edge, to the right edge, so that it doesn't show when I finish when I go to sew my waistband on. So I'm going to go to 7.0 and go as far away from the edge as close to the edge as possible. So I need some thread so that I have something to gather with. So let's go ahead and take our bobbin out, put it back in, and then down, up. Oh, it didn't catch. Okay, there it goes. Okay, so now we've got our threads to pull our gathering stitches with. You have to use the gathering stitch on here. You can't use the your gathering device. You can, but it's not, you know, it may not, your gathers may not equal your waistband, so it's something you're going to have to consider. Okay, so let's go ahead and just get started gathering. Putting a gathering stitch on here. I'm just going to go straight across. You can go with 2 gathering stitches or 1. It's up to you, whichever you prefer. If you like a really smooth gather, you might want to go with 2 gathering stitches. Just going to put a little bit of the, because I'm using polyester thread, and I'm using the top tension, I'm getting a little gathers already. So go up, pull it out, and there we go. Okay, so I already got a few gathers in there. So go ahead and fold your skirt in half. Okay, and let's go ahead and mark that. That's the middle of your slip. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a pin and take your waistband, and you're going to put your waistband right into the center of that slip. Okay, so pin it. We decided to have our ends go flush, so we're going to 10 inches, we're going to line that edge right up against that edging. Okay, so line that up to that side. You might want to give yourself just a wee bit extra. It's whatever you feel like doing. I'm just going to go like maybe a 1/16 of an inch over that chalk mark. Same thing on this side. I'm going to get my gathering threads up out of the way and put my waistband on, pin it on with just a smidgen, maybe a 1/16 of an inch. And that'll take up any slack in the, you know, the way the fabric gathers, it sort of pulls in your length. Okay, so now we're just going to continue to pin and put our pins in. So let's go ahead and fold this in half. There's our center right there. Let's make a mark. Okay, and then put this one in the middle. Find it. I'm not going to do this whole thing because it'll take me a good 10 minutes maybe just to get this thing pinned and lined up. Okay, so that'll go right here. Put a pin in it. So what you're doing is evenly spacing the gathers so that when you go to sew your gathers on, they will be evenly spaced. Okay, so there's that one. And then take this one in half, find the center, mark it, and put that on that mark. Okay, so I'm just going to continue to do this all the way along, continue to fill in all my pins until I can get this evenly spaced all the way across the waistband. And then when I come back, I'll have it all pinned up, and we will finish this skirt off by sewing on the waistband and sewing up the back of the skirt. So when you get to this point, you can basically just look and see if your fabric has about the same amount of, it's kind of, if you want to mark them evenly, perfectly, you can, but because it is a slip, you don't have to be, it's going to be an underskirt, an underslip, so you really don't have to be all that fussy. But if you do want to make it as even as possible, then you can measure it all the way along so it's perfect. But once you gather it, it's not going to be that difficult to, you're not going to be able to see all of the perfect gathers. Okay, so there's another one. Okay, he's coming around with this tractor, so I'm going to stop here, and then I'll have all the pins in, and then I'm going to sew this across, and then once I have that sewed, then I'll come back and show you how to make those ends on the waistband.